Hello, welcome to your handy English of today, in which we're going to start with our second theme about language learning and teaching. And the first topic we have today is language learning versus language acquisition. First, let's talk about the contents. We're going to define what language is. We're going to talk about the brain functionalities and the areas in the brain that produce the language acquisition or learning. We're also going to talk about the differences between learning and acquisition. Two of the main theorists about topic, who are Noam Chomsky and Stephen Krashen. And well, let's talk about what is language. First, we need to say that these definitions are taken from the book of George Jules about the language and Susan Dort. So the term language can be used to refer to the method of human communication using spoken or written words. Okay, it is also the style or types of words used by a person or group, which is a topic generally studied within social linguistics. You can read the rest of the definitions here by George Jules, but the first two are the most known definitions for language. Then let's talk about the brain. What do we use in the brain when we learn or when we acquire a language? Well, there are two areas in our brain which are located in the left lobe of our brain, and they were discovered by these two neuropsychologists, Wernicke and Broca. And the areas were named after the psychologists. So the Broca area, which is the one that is located here on the front side of the left lobe, it helps in producing coherent speech. And the Wernicke area, which is in the same left side, but it's on the back side, it helps in the speech processing and understanding of language. If any of these two areas get damaged, then we will have language deficiencies. So these are the two areas in charge of language learning and acquisition and producing the language as well. Then let's talk about language learning and acquisition. The main difference between both of these is that language acquisition is a natural process, unlike language learning, which is an artificial process. When we acquire a language, it's basically when we are just born and we are listening to our parents speaking in their native language, and we are acquiring it little by little as we grow up. So it becomes something personal. And the priority is on the spoken production, not on the grammar or accuracy. We learn it through the practice, the language in use. It requires meaningful interaction with our parents to produce the language properly. This is also an inductive process, right? It is an inductive coaching as we are discovering the grammar rules. Nobody is telling us what the rules are specifically. We are just corrected by our parents to say either both the pronunciation and the proper grammar accurately, but they are only asking us to repeat what they say. So it is an inductive coaching. It is a subconscious process. We are not conscious that we are acquiring a language. We're just processing the information and producing, repeating, right? And it is definitely learner-centered because, well, talking about here, starting from this point, from this bullet point down, we're talking about in the classroom. It is learner-centered because we need to produce, as teachers, we need to produce activities which promote the exposure to the language. So there must be room for improvisation. Okay, there must be no translation to the L1, and all the activities must be in the language. Okay, its focus, it's on communication, and language acquisition produces an ability, the ability to speak a language. Unlike language learning, which is artificial because we're going to learn the rules, we're going to be also conscious, therefore it's going to be technical. We require techniques to learn the language. Its priority, it's on the accuracy of the language, therefore it must be more on the written aspect of the language because we're going to analyze grammar. We learn theory, we analyze the language itself. There is formal instruction. And the teaching must be deductive, right? Because we are guiding our students to deduce the meaning or deduce what the language is. I mean, the rules, and we go from easy to complicated in the process of teaching. It is also a conscious process. When we learn a language, we're conscious we're learning it. All right. And talking about teaching, the teaching aspect, we must have a preset syllabus, not like in acquisition where we can just go according to the situations. On the learning, we have a preset syllabus, which is going to lead us towards the goals of learning. All right. Sometimes might be, or there might be use of the L1. And the activities are going to be about the language, so, right? We're going to talk about the language, not in the language. Its focus, it's on the form, on the accuracy of a language, on the structure, and unlike acquisition, learning produces knowledge more than an ability. So these are basically the main differences between language learning and language acquisition. But then let's talk about two theorists which talk about this really clearer in a clearer way. Okay, Noam Chomsky and Stephen Krashen. Noam Chomsky states his very famous and popular theory of the universal grammar. The universal grammar theory suggests that every language has some of the same laws. They share the same laws. For example, every language has a way to ask a question or make something negative. In addition, every language has a way to identify gender or show that something happened in the past or present. So these are basic rules of grammar in all languages. He states that all human beings have, or we are born with this natural ability which is in our brain, and he calls it the language acquisition device, something in our brain that is predetermined to make us speak proper grammar language. So that's how he called his theory the universal grammar, as all languages will share the same aspects and all human beings will be born with this LAD, language acquisition device, which is going to make us speak the grammar of our native language properly. Then we have Stephen Krashen. He created, or he proposed, this hypothesis, the natural order. He says, and he talks more about how we acquire or learn the language. He says that we all follow the same rules or the same order when learning a second language. He states we should start first with maybe the verb to be, and then we will follow with numbers, and then we will follow with objects or nouns, right? He says first we will learn nouns. That's basically how we learn, and then we will learn actions, verbs, and then we will start learning conjunctions to start and prepositions to start joining all of the sentences and clauses. And he states that in all languages we follow the same order, so that's why he called it the natural order hypothesis. So both theories, the theory of universal grammar and the natural order hypothesis, are really connected one with another, and we as teachers should know more about them so we could apply its principles in our teaching practice. Finally, we have some game to practice our knowledge on this topic. Okay, and here are the references if you want to learn more about universal grammar, natural order hypothesis, or some other articles. You can just click on the links here to go to the references. Thank you very much for watching this handy lesson, and see you in our next video.